really great to be here. My talk is entitled Music Data is Scary and Beautiful and Exciting, and these are all true things, and I'm going to tell you why. I have a brief interlude first, however. For the past, I'd say 10 years of my life, I've been doing music research, sort of teaching computers to listen to music, as Martin said. I've been studying it both academically, and then in 2005, I started a company with my co-founder Tristan called The Echo Nest. You guys, very few of you probably actually know us, maybe you do, I don't know, but we power quite a bit of the music experience on the internet to this day. We probably provide data to reach about 100 million people a month these days. If you use a streaming service or you go on whatever, MTV or whatever, you're looking at some of our stuff when you see a recommendation or a search box or something like that. We kind of power in the shadows a lot of stuff. But there's a weird side effect of this. I was a musician for a very long time, not really anymore, and I always had this sort of chip on my shoulder of the kind of stuff I was working on could be really terrible if done incorrectly. A lot of you have dealt with stuff like this. You can see this mishmash of really bad music recommendations or really bad data about music somewhere on the internet, or a really bad experience. You go on Amazon and you buy a CD for your girlfriend or whatever, and then you're saddled with these terrible recommendations for years and years, and you can't do anything about it. Oh, I hid it in my pocket. And so all of this is kind of, to me, the fact that you could teach a computer anything about music, which is such a crazy personal thing that nobody ever really will understand, even the people themselves. And as someone who takes music so seriously, as a listener and an ex-musician and all of this, I just found it so offensive that a computer could do the same job. And yet, here I am, the CTO and co-founder of a company that makes a lot of money selling all this data to all these companies. So there's just been this weird cognitive dissonance I've dealt with for quite a bit. I built this a few months ago, actually, as part of my therapy sessions with myself when I get mad about what I do for the world and if I can do something better. This was an app that is a recommender, but it does the opposite. This will tell you the music you currently own that you shouldn't, and then it deletes it from your hard drive. So the idea here is, like, obviously we put so much of our agency and what we believe in into these totally anonymous, random algorithms that nobody in this room, even me, have any idea how they work. Like, I've studied this stuff for 10 years, and I couldn't tell you really how Last.fm's recommenders work or how Amazon or Pandora's really work. I mean, I guess what they're doing, but it's an opaque box that, how in the hell could this thing ever understand me? It's bullshit. It doesn't actually mean anything, and yet here we are trusting so much of our life. I mean, music is tied to so many things that you don't even think about. Every decision you make, there's some music in it, and we can't be giving it all away to these computers. So what I deal with all day is this kind of problem, which is, here I am trying to help the future of music by getting a lot of data, and at the same time, I'm really mad at it as well. You see it a lot in the music production space, things like Auto-Tune and Melodyne and all these guys, Beat Detective, where we've sort of figured out in the past 10 years that we can have a computer understand something, understand perception in a way that now we can automate parts of it, that we can change someone's voice or change the beats and make it sound better to people. Maybe this is a good thing. It could be used artistically, it could be useful, but also it leads to things like this. If you guys haven't heard about Rebecca Black here, she was a huge sensation, at least in the States, just only like 2 weeks ago. 13-year-old girl, her parents set her up to get some music video made in a day. I'm not even gonna play the video, I actually have it. I used to have the video in here, but I took it out because it's just so bad. But it's like this terribly, like, I consider Rebecca Black here sort of a automated composition in a sense. It was completely managed automatically from start to finish. There were people involved, but it turns into this sort of robot. She was like a machine-generated process at the end of the day. And I get really worried when I see stuff like this happening and people slowly get used to it. Obviously, everybody made fun of her. It was really terrible, but you could see this, people slowly understanding that, wow, computers are getting really good at making stuff automatically, understanding stuff automatically, and maybe in 10 years we'll just be okay with it. Well, I'm not, and here I am. So where I sit, though, is not so much in the production world. My company has been involved in what we call just music data, just put it that way. We sell and get a lot of music data to almost everybody that you can think of. We're out there. Every major label is a client of ours, most music streaming services. So we do a lot of stuff here. And I've been watching this sort of timeline since, I'd say about 1995 was when I'd say we first realized we can understand music as a computational unit. And that was with the invention of collaborative filtering, which was, I'm sure you've all dealt with, you've bought this, someone else bought this, so therefore you'll like this. But since then, it's been this sort of slow process of learning. We can do more and more. Yeah, I'm sure you all have used Shazam or SoundHound. That was invented about 1999, actually. And this is a thing that's listening to an audio signal and telling you what it is. It's pretty cool. But you can take that forward. You can do stuff like music social networks, or you could look at a really terrible thing there in 2006 is hit prediction. People realized if you can understand audio well enough and all the stuff around it, could you actually predict if a song will be a hit? If you think about this and map it out in your mind, it's actually a very terrible thing. No one wants this. There's no one in the world that wants a song to be automatically determined to be a hit or not, because then people would just make hits automatically. And do we need that? Do we need all that noise in our lives, if that's really possible? So I watched this timeline going out. 2009 is the rise of music analytics. It's a really big business right now, sort of selling Twitter sentiment data or social network performance of music all over the place. And I worry about what 2011 shows. I showed this slide to people at work about 6 months ago. I'm trying to deal with, as a growing company of like 30 people now, I'm trying to figure out how can we do something good in the world without just having technology that we sell? We have this axis of caring and nice. This is all my invention in my head right now, but we've been really nice as a company. We don't, it's hard to be nice in the music industry, but we tried our hardest. But care is something interesting, and I'm really interested in that these days. It's like you can have an algorithm that does something really good for people. You can tell them, here's a bunch of music that you'll like, or and it's a band you never heard before, or you'll help an artist get noticed. That's actually nice, but you have to do it carefully. You have to actually understand what you're doing and what this means to the whole world. And that's why I get worried about all the data that's going into music and what it's meaning to the future of music, and I'm going to show you more about that. This is an example of a band called Tune Yards. They're actually relatively well known in the States, at least. They had a single come out just last week, actually. I'm using them as an example because I want to show you what happens when music comes out on the internet in 2011. So it's March 2011. This single came out, I believe, last Sunday. It's YouTube now. I don't know how many views it has, but it's called Business. I'm going to play a clip of it. So it's not your average pop song. It's not going to rise to the top of the charts, but this is a very well professionally produced video for a pretty interesting, unique band that's got a lot of buzz behind them. This is great. This is what the internet's meant for. But the second the song came out, companies like ours went to work. So this is what we do when a new song comes on the internet. I checked. Within about an hour, we had this song in our database. We ran the following analyses on them. A lot of math there, but we do a lot of stuff. We try to listen to the song. I could tell you the pitch and over time of the whole song if you want to know. Every event that happens, every drum beat, every syllable, everything. I can tell you what the pitch was, what the sound of each sound was, how loud it was, all sorts of things, the beat over time. I could tell you, and here's a demo of just someone using our API, looking for this artist, Tune Yards, all the information that we've collected in the past week about them. I don't know if you can see the words scrolling by, but what we try to do is get sort of the internet's general opinion, the cultural miasma around this one artist. You can see all the biographies that we automatically collected from all over the internet, from commercial sources, Wikipedia. You can see blog posts, news, and reviews. All this is happening automatically all the time. It's just going on without this artist even asking. We just do it for them. So you can see, obviously, there's other things. Obviously, Last.fm, and Wikipedia are other really good ways of artists getting their stuff out there. This is great because this is more listener focused, where listeners will type in stuff. Wikipedia obviously is a great example of that, but this is ways that the internet is helping artists like this sort of get noticed, and it's all happening at the same time. If you want to steal her music, this is very easy as well now. This is what.cd, which is one of the bigger private torrent trackers. You can see she's got about 3,000 people currently seeding her song to the rest of the world. If you want to just steal it, there you go. Very simple. And again, all the analytics stuff is happening. So what's great is, well, I wouldn't call it great, but the industry that's arrived around this is sort of always watching, and they're making sort of invisible decisions from almost invented data. So constantly, anything you do, if you tweeted about her or you listened to her on Last.fm and you scrabbled something, that data went into some database somewhere. To somebody, and somebody's looking at it. No matter if you tried or not, if you wanted to publicize it or not, someone was watching you. I estimated by looking at our data, and this is a very fascinating stat to me at least, that your average 5 megabyte song generates about 100 megabytes of data just alongside it, sort of the context around everything. This is like packed index data. This is very compressed stuff. And what's interesting is that artists like this is an app that we power called Discover. It's a really cool iPad app. The woman in this band had no say over this. This is her similar artist graph, more or less. You can see who she's related to. We generate this automatically from a ton of data that she'll never understand. One of my favorite pastimes is I'll be at a bar with a musician or whatever, and I'll ask them their name, and I'll type it into my phone, and I'll show them the data we have about them. And they get so mad, not like the popularity data or the fact that we could have all their audio stolen for them. And they always hate the similar artists. Every single time, they're like, no, that's wrong. There's no way I'm similar to whoever. They get really pissed off by it. And it's something that they wish would never happen, but there it is. And yet, millions of people every day are looking at data like this and making some decision about music. We had a great little thing happen about a year ago. So we provide recommendation data to a lot of streaming providers. One of them called us and said, oh, something's wrong. You have Lady Gaga being similar to the Beatles all of a sudden, which if you know Lady Gaga, she sounds really nothing like the Beatles. It couldn't be farther from the truth. And we thought it was a bug, so we looked into it. And it turned out that over the past couple months, Lady Gaga has been on this very weird publicity tour of somehow associating herself with John Lennon or the Beatles at every single step along the way. She did this thing where she took her clothes off and played on John Lennon's piano, which is a little weird. She fears that she'll die the same way John Lennon died. And most importantly, she went on all of her social network profiles herself and changed her what I sound like to say John Lennon, the Beatles, and so on. She actually is trying to manipulate this system, and it worked. And we knew it within about an hour or two once she started doing this, and we started bubbling up the Beatles across from Lady Gaga. Not sure if that's a good thing or not, but it's happening. So, and I think of what listeners are up against as well. This is Pandora. If you guys, I know I don't have here right now, but this is a very popular thing in the States where you really have no control. You type in an artist's name, and that's about the best you can get. It creates a radio station for you. You can't really change any of the parameters. They just kind of happen. I was doing studies of, if a computer could detect if a song was sad or not, and it actually works surprisingly well. This is an app that will automatically sort your collection into sad and not sad. But the thing is, if this worked and you used it, would you start believing it after a while? Can a computer actually know if something that's so personal to you is actually sad or not? And it's a scary thing to think about. So that was the scary part of the talk. I'm moving on to sort of the beauty and the exciting part right now. The way I see to get out of this, and this has nothing to do with the Echo Nest, even though that's what I do every day and how I deal with these things, but this is happening everywhere. We have tons of competitors, there's tons of other guys working on this stuff all the time. No matter what, music is becoming discretized and quantized and turned into some sort of data in a database that we'll have to deal with. But there's something we could do about this. We have to know that we have all this data and how beautiful it could possibly be if all of a sudden you had something that understood all music. I've spent some time working on this in my previous life as an artist of sorts. This is Eigen Radio, which was a very successful radio stream that would play all music all the time. It would listen to 40 radio stations, commercial radio stations in the States at once, and then synthesize a single stream of everything it heard. It tended to sound like this. Wasn't very popular. And I got more involved in how can you synthesize more of a feeling or a memory, and this was a long study I did. I spent about a year of my PhD, which was hilarious that you can do that, but you can, looking at if you can understand what Christmas means, and I worked on this mostly through the summer, so it was very awkward all the time of trying to figure out, could you teach a computer what Christmas means and then play back Christmas music? So Christmas music is more about the emotion and your connection to the holiday, but here's what a computer thought Christmas sounds like. could work, right? I mean, it's close enough, right? It's good to play that in a church, by the way. I don't know what I've just desecrated, but I desecrated something. It was quite nice. But I'm actually more excited. This is more recent work. This is actually a musician that I know, Ben Lacker, has been now composing around all the data the Equinest has about music, and he's actually making, you know, current electronic music that's based on analysis of a whole bunch of different sounds. He records musicians and runs it through our stuff, and then plays it back through a lot of cool tools that he's building. It's a song of his called Sheepdog, a little piece of it. So it's harp pieces, people singing. So there's a lot of cool stuff going on with this, and what I want to kind of wrap up with and end with is more of the exciting part of the talk, past the beauty of looking at all the data, is actually what's happening right now, whether you involve us or not, is this weird new thing called the API. Obviously not a new thing at all, but in the music industry is definitely a brand new thing. Guys like us, 7 Digital, Music Brains, Last.fm, SoundClouds, tons of guys are making it very important that all this data is accessible by anybody. And that includes all of you in this room that are working on mobile apps, or you're trying to build a business around music. A lot of you might use us directly as an API consumer, and that's pretty much our business model. And it's a really new big thing. It's actually only been in the past couple years that the music industry has sort of stood up and said, wait a minute, maybe we shouldn't have as much control as the end user experience as we used to. We even got, this was just a couple weeks ago, we got a full 4-page spread in Billboard, which is the main industry rag for music, all about what we call Music Hack Days. Now you guys had one here last year, where a ton of people come in and they all work on a music product for free. Like nobody pays them, they just show up and they're really excited about it, and they all use these APIs and they make really cool stuff. And it's a whole new, brand new thing that's happening that's really getting a lot of excitement. This just happened as well a couple weeks ago, where we made a deal with a major label, Universal, who has a subsidiary, Island Def Jam, which is Kanye West, Justin Bieber, all those guys. And this is actually really interesting, not to toot the horn and show our PR, but this is more about the fact that finally, after many years of trying to get them to do it, the labels are realizing that they don't need to have all this control over the end experience, and they see all this cool stuff coming out, all the apps and all of this, and they're saying, we have this content, we know it's a pain in the ass to license content, no one likes to do that, so why don't we give developers the content and a license to use it and see what happens. So it's really exciting to see all this stuff show up all of a sudden, with all the data available, and maybe it can't be so scary, maybe we can do something more exciting. But people make funny things. This was one of my more favorite projects, where you could turn any song into a swing version of itself. This was all over the internet a couple months ago. This will be Guns N' Roses' Sweet Child of Mine in a very different way. Wait for the voice. I can't hear it the normal way anymore. That's all I hear it now. So it's hard to undo, you know. This is another great one. This is actually a couple years ago, but I can't stop playing this. You can make a donk version, which is this, you know, over-the-top remix of any song. Totally automated. He's donked, you know, 100,000 songs. He makes money off of ads. You know, it's a totally business that he's got going on now. More commercially minded. So we worked with MTV, but actually they were just developers using our APIs. This is a really great product that I really am a big fan of, called the Music Meter. It's an iPad app, iPhone app, and a web app that they're using our data to show sort of their new charts. MTV, of all people, have realized that, you know, they can't keep showing the same 5 bands over and over again. Then on the internet, there's all this new stuff, all this kind of fringe of music out there that they want to be able to somehow encapsulate. And what they did is they took our very complex data and made a really nice UI and interface that sort of gets at a lot of it, and it's really great to play with. 1 minute, yes. So let me just quickly jump ahead and I'll show you this here.
So I'm really into triangles. I've got a triangle tattoo, a triangle necklace. It's all about being equilateral inside and out, you know?
This is pocket
Like,
hipster.
I don't mind going to gigs, but if I'm not looking on from backstage, it kind of feels like a waste of my time and the band's time, you know?
So what Pocket Hipster was a way to do music discovery with a kind of annoying, front end in front of it, where someone would actually look at your collection and tell you, oh, this is terrible, you should be listening to this instead, and this is all using our stuff. I'll just quickly skip ahead a little bit. Sorry, 1 second. Just want to get to the last piece. So, sorry. So what's happening now, and I just want to wrap up with this, those are also demos, if you want to see them, I can show them to you later, is that we've been saying this for a while, and this is now happening. With all the data available to people, developers are now becoming the future of music. It's not just a saying, it's something that's actually happening. They're using algorithms like ours and data like ours all over the internet and building brand new experiences that no one could make before. The way I sort of see it is like there's this long tail of experiences now, whereas before there's a long tail of music. Well, we took care of that. We have data across 30 million songs, 1.5 million artists. That's not a problem anymore. But now the problem is you don't just put this in your iPod. You don't just open Spotify and see a search box where you've got nothing else to do. There's a lot more stuff you can do, and we're sort of enabling it. So hopefully the 2011 won't look so terrible. We're going to see a lot of cool new stuff, and hopefully we'll be involved in some way. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you very much, Brian. Who has a question? I will ask the first question then. Yeah. Brian.
Yes.
As we all know, music has something magic, like talking to someone, like love. It's something magic. Yeah. And you collect all the data. What kind of, and then we all try to find the magic. And we think the magic is in the data. What kind of magic did you find in the data?
So to me, music, the experience is about the relationships between the things. So the magic I found is that you can make correlations between things you wouldn't know before. That someone in some other country called a band a certain word you've never heard before, and that word relates to other music, and you find new music through that. That's the magic there. That you're uncovering new stuff that without all this data, you wouldn't be able to get before.
And it's not in the data of the music itself. It's more the context, as we have seen so earlier today.
Yes, absolutely.
It's a context.
Yes.
And it depends on the context also. If you so when there is magic, when the magic is, so when I feel sad, I need other music, of course. When I'm happy, so the context depends. The magic depends on the context.
Absolutely.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. Whoa. You asked a question on the Momo side, I saw, and you wanted to ask the question to the audience, but I would like first to ask the question to you, because I think it's a really interesting question. You said, why have the technical barriers to music experiences come down so long before the legal and business barriers?
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So can you answer the questions?
So I can't answer
yourself.
the question. No, it was
please.
a rhetorical question, I believe you would call that, where we're worried about this. So we see, especially dealing with the labels and all these guys, a lot of them are forward thinking, and a lot of them are still up against rules that we couldn't control. So we've been having this technology around we've been working on it for 10 years, and just sitting in the meetings where we're trying to get cool stuff done and being up against some barrier that we didn't understand has been really frustrating for us. So I don't know why in the music industry it's been the case where the hump of technology was so far behind the hump of the actual commercial ability of the side of things.
Okay, thank you.
This discovery, is it really necessary, you think? You're talking about the magic, but I think it's a for a rich man.
Okay, yeah.
It's not, I mean, music is pure, you don't really need to discover stuff. You just need to listen to it, I think.
As you can guess, we agree on that fundamentally, right? As people, right? So I agree that discovery, I personally do not use any music recommendations or any similarity things whatsoever. I don't believe in them. I get my music from my own, I do it myself. I have to do it that way. It's the only way I can get it done. But I definitely see when I talk to other people that are not us, not you and I talking right now, but pretty much the rest of the world, still have a need for, I'm faced with an empty search box. I need to listen to something. I don't know what to do. And I want to convert those people into you and I. And the way to do that is from this kind of shelf we're letting them stand on to get to see the rest of the world of data, or else it's way too overwhelming for them. That's the only way to do it.
Okay, thank you. Other questions in the back? No? So Patrick?
No questions, sorry.
No questions. Anyone else? No. Okay. Yep.
What's your favorite band?
I can't answer that, I'm sorry. That's
Why
one
not?
of those, it's impossible to answer. And also, you know what? I don't want to tell you. I mean,
Why
not
not?
you, I don't know who you are, but I mean, I don't want to tell an audience of people. It's a personal thing. And if I had one, I don't think I have just one, but I don't like that
But is
idea.
it so personal to tell your favorite band? Why?
I can tell you I like certain kinds of music. I like experimental electronic music. I like British pop of the 70s.
So music says so much about yourself, about your personality, so you don't want to share it.
I would share it if we were alone together, maybe. How about
Whoa. Maarten, what's your favorite band?
Oh, I have. I don't have a favorite one in general, but right now I'm listening to Altrice. I just found it online and I really like it. So that's on the top of my playlist.
that? Just Rebecca Black is.
Okay,
No,
Marquise?
it's great. Check it out.
Do you see cultural impact in the data that you have? Like when Japan happened?
Yeah.
Did you see it? Do you recognize it in your data?
Yeah, I mean, we would if that's something we looked for. We definitely have the data. So we're the same Twitter spiders and all the web crawlers that everybody else are using. So we have that data. If they're talking about music in a certain way, responding to the tragedy, yes, we'd have that data. I haven't looked at that one particularly.
Yes, but can you tell something about it? How did it change?
I could tell you about it. I have to look at all the data though. But yes, we would definitely see a change in people's tastes over a small amount of time, no matter what. We do it on every 15
Yeah, but
minutes or so.
how? Because we would like to know how the music tastes change. Is it more Japanese music or?
Right. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. I can't give you
Okay,
an
but do
answer.
you have another example? So maybe 9/11 or
Yeah.
another big event?
Right. Christmas, right. Well, that's
Christmas.
one. Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
Well,
this is
sure.
a really
That's
good
an obvious
example.
one.
We are going to close with that. Thank you very much,
Thanks
Brian.
very much.